Hello everyone, today I'll be giving my quick starter guide on the Vienna game. The Vienna begins with e4, e5, knight to c3. Here black has a variety of options, one of them being knight to f6. After this we can begin the Vienna Gambit with the move f4. If they take the pawn we can simply kick the knight back with the move e5. Here we play knight to f3, protecting the threat of queen to h4 check. After d6, attacking the pawn, we can play d4, defending it. But if they take, we do not need to take back. Instead, we can play bishop to c4, setting up a trap here, because if they take the pawn, we can play castles. And if they play the horrendous blunder, pawn takes c3, we can play bishop takes f7 exclam. And if they take that bishop, we simply pick up the queen here. So most people will play king to e7, but here we can play rook to e1, and after bishop e6, we can take that bishop. After king takes bishop, we just take the queen, and white here is just crushing, simple position. We can just, and checkmate. So for the next variation, we will be looking at in the Vienna Gambit if they play the move d5 instead of accepting the gambit. This is what you'll face if you're a higher level, because most people know the theory here. But here we can play pawn takes on e5, then after knight takes e4, we play d3, setting up a trap, because if queen to h5, which is a tactic that normally works, we can play g3, knight takes g3, and here we can play knight to f3. And after the queen retreats with queen h5, we simply take the pawn on d5, and here, after the move bishop to g4, attacking the knight, we can take the pawn on c7, forking the king and the rook, but once the king moves, we don't take the rook, instead playing bishop to g2, attacking the knight as the rook is now defended, and if they take our knight, we can simply just take back, and white here has a crushing position with a tempo, an open file, and an extra pawn. For the next variation we'll be looking at is if black responds with knight to c6 on the second move. Here we can play bishop to c4, and if they copy with bishop to c5, we play queen g4, and after queen f3, attacking the f2 pawn and defending the g7 pawn. Instead of protecting our f2 pawn, we can actually play knight to d5, attacking the queen, and after queen takes f2, we can simply move the king away because the bishop is guarding the f1 square. So here, if they try to attack the queen with d6, which is a fatal blunder, we can play the move queen takes g7. Here, after a move like bishop to e6, we can just fork the king and the rook. After the king moves, we can take that bishop because the pawn is pinned. And here, white is up a piece, up a pawn, completely crushing position. Next variation we'll be looking at is if they play the move bishop to b4, which is the Zuralev counter gambit. Here we can play knight to d5. After the bishop retreats, we play b4. And after it moves back, we play a move here, d4, which looks like a fatal blunder, because after bishop takes, it looks like, oh, we just hung a pawn. But here we can play c3, and after the bishop moves back, we play the amazing move, queen to h5, because it looks like black here can just defend the pawn with d6, but according to the engine, their best hope at saving this position would be the move knight to f6. After this, we can simply just take the pawn on e5, the king has to move to f8, and white here just is crushing. So this was my quick starter guide on the Vienna game. What openings do you want me to do quick starter guides on? And yeah, like, subscribe, and comment.